training experience. I've been training from past 4 years. Hardly more than some 50 batches would have trained within past 4 years. That's the overall introduction about me. So before we get started, so I would like to understand your expectation out of this training. So why you have actually chosen Informatica and what is your expectation? So if we understand each other so that we can get started, and then I can give you more details so that I can try to match your expectations, what you have as part of the curriculum. So basically, in the first 45 minutes, I'm just going to show you what are all the, what is ETL, what is BI, what is data warehouse, and I'll also show you what kind of topics that we are going to cover and how long the course will take, what kind of installations support that we give, what kind of hands-on lab guides that we provide for a practice. All these things will show you. Then we can start with the regular curriculum just after that. Okay. So yes, you can probably start here. So like, what is your name, and then what is your expectation out of this training? Mm-hmm. 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 That's your expectation. Okay. All right. So do you have database knowledge? SQL. SQL. Okay. Basic Unix. Okay. That's enough. Okay. How about you? All right. Yeah, sure. How about you? You're looking for a ETL testing, or it's like Informatica development, hands-on. Okay, now your next goal is to go towards the ETL testing and BI testing, or you want to switch completely onto the Informatica development. Okay, so you would like to explore both the opportunities after that. Okay, so do you have got any knowledge on the database and SQL? SQL, you are good with us. Okay, all right. Yeah, we have two people who have joined from online as well. I think Swati, can you introduce yourself? You can actually unmute. There is a microphone symbol. Yeah, you can just go ahead, and then
Okay.
I would like to hear your expectation out of this training. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Swati. I'm from UK. I'm from different background. I did my
Uh huh.
commissioning in India. but I want to come into the software. I already got a little bit knowledge of Oracle,
Okay.
SQL.
Can you speak a little louder? I
So,
think there is a low voice coming up from your end.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Hello?
a little better.
Yeah, so I thought this is going to be easy because it's a no programming, something like that.
Uh-huh.
So I already have little bit idea how it's gonna be, uh, but I want to perfectize in this, and I need to get a job in this. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You joined from another instance as well. I see the another user also, like HTML5 Web5 user. Is that you?
No, no, no,
Okay. Who
no.
is that? There is another guy who is on the line. I'm not sure. Is that Shiva? Shiva Reddy or someone? Okay, that's fine. So we'll just get started. I don't see any response from him or he or she, whatever. Okay. So let's get started. Yeah. What about you? Your. Uh-huh. So, like, what is expectation out of your this? Mm-hmm. Oh, you're a fresher. Okay. Do you have knowledge on SQL? No, not even on the SQL. Okay. I will understand. Okay, that's fine. So let's get started. See, I would like to give you the clear expectation out of this training, like what you're going to learn and what you're going to get from this training. Okay. Uh, Basically, this training is mainly for a Informatica PowerCenter developer training. Okay, so when we say a developer training, it includes as well as a 30 to 40% of admin activities as well. So suppose if you have to work as a little bit of admin activities, that also will be covered as part of this training. Okay, so the course duration is actually goes for 35 hours. It's only the live classes I'm talking about, the 35 hours of classes which will be there. And then you might have to spend some 50 to 60 hours of hands-on exercises. So this is the, we will provide you the complete hands-on lab guides and everything for that. Okay, whatever it is there. So this is how we'll do that. So this is this one. So the prerequisite is actually for attending this training is one should have a understanding of the database. That is like you should know what is a database is all about, and you should know what is SQL, and basically basics in SQL. I would say you need not to be an expert in SQL, but basics in SQL is required. So I'll also tell you what kind of topics you required in SQL. So you should be able to understand how to read the data from tables, multiple tables, basically by using joins and everything. And you should be able to understand how to use the aggregate functions. So basically the like sum, maximum, minimum for calculating all those. And you should understand more about what is a DML statements, like adding the data, deleting the data, and updating the data on the tables. Okay, insert, update, delete statements. And you should also understand about the DDL, like how to create the tables in the database, how to remove the tables from the database, and how to alter the tables from the database. It's like create, alter, and all. So if you know the other details about the views, sequences, it is essential. I mean, if it is there, it will be good to understand even few more concepts. So basically you need not worry in case if you don't know the SQL as well. So what we'll do is we'll actually provide you the, if you are enrolling for a curriculum, so this is like a complimentary course you can say, we will actually provide you the self-paced videos. So when I say self-paced videos, we have a set of SQL videos which are taught by me only, wherein you'll understand the complete concepts of the SQL. So basically, it's about how what is a database and how to connect to the database using an SQL, and these concepts about joins, aggregate functions, and how to use that. That complete material, hand guide, as well as the access to those complete set of videos will be provided to you. In case if you want to brush up the SQL, let's say you might have worked very long back, and I just want to brush up them before getting into the training, and also we'll give you the complete access to the videos wherein you can go through that and understand. In case if you have any questions, probably we can spend 1 hour, 1.5 hour or 2 hours to discuss all those, and then do that. So that is a prerequisite for attending this course. So this course is mainly concentrates on, I mean, what kind of skills that you're going to acquire by the end of this training. We are going to understand what is a data warehouse and different terminology that is being used in the data warehouse. So all those things we'll understand, and the architecture of the data warehouse, what are the different architectures that we have. So basically here you'll understand what is an ETL and what is a BI. That's what we are going to understand with respect to that. And the next one is about the data modeling. So we'll understand how to design the tables in the database, basically defining the structure of the tables and all those things. So data modeling, which includes, this is called as a dimensional modeling, which is predominantly used in the ETL projects or a data warehousing or a BI projects. And then we will focus more on the Informatica PowerCenter. So Informatica PowerCenter 961 version, which we are going to learn as part of this training. So the latest version which is available in the market is 10, but still it is not available for a download or for an upgrade. So Informatica 10 is just released 45 days ago. Okay, so still it is not available. There are a little bit of changes. I mean, it's not vast changes which have happened from the this to that, but there are a little changes, but we are going to discuss that as well. I'm going to highlight what Informatica 10 is coming up with. So you might work on Informatica 10 as well, but the user interface and everything is the same. There is no change in the user interface, but just this little bit of features is being added. We'll discuss that as well at the end of the training. Now, also along with this, as a Informatica PowerCenter developer, you must understand the Unix as well. So we are going to understand basic Unix commands, and we are also going to understand the basic shell scripting. So basically, because Unix shell scripting plays an important role in an ETL projects, because all your Informatica and all these servers will be installed in the Unix environment. So when you want to work with all these kind of servers, you should know the shell scripting and everything. And it is also that sometimes you'll call the Unix shell scripts from the Informatica. Okay, and at the same time, when you want to invoke the ETL jobs, we can even call them or schedule them in the Unix environment. So Unix plays an important role. And at the same time, we'll also going and discuss about the basics in PLSQL. Don't expect this as an advanced topic. So basics in PLSQL, it's and the meaning is that, like, let's say when you start working as an Informatica PowerCenter developer, you might encounter most of the cases an Oracle database which is being used as a data warehouse in your projects. So in that case, you might have to write a little bit of PLSQL, or you might have to understand the existing PL/SQL procedures which are available. So I'm going to help you out what are the syntaxes, basic syntaxes, and then how to write a basic PL/SQL procedure, how to execute a PL/SQL procedure, how to call the PL/SQL procedure from Informatica. All these kind of things we're going to discuss. So this is the 5 different skills that you're going to acquire by the end of this training. So this 35 to 45 hours, whatever we there, so it is going to cover all these things with respect to that. But now, since it's a demo class, probably what I do, I mean, it's not a demo in the sense I'll just try to give you the first 45 minutes. I'll just introduce what is ETL, what is BI, then we'll start with the regular curriculum. Okay. So to start, what I'm going to do that now is I'll just try to tell you what is a database. So what in terms, I mean, what is a database in your terminology? What is called as a database? Yes, you collection of data. How does it stores? In the form of tables, right? So the database is something that you can say it's a software which stores the data in the form of table. What do you mean by table? What is a table? It's nothing but rows and columns is called as a table. So you're representing the data in the form of rows and columns, that is called as a table. So in a technical terms, your databases in general is called as a DBMS. DBMS stands for a database management system, and eventually it has been converted as an RDBMS, which means relational database management system. Why do we call the database as relational database management system? Because there will be a relationship between one table to another table. So that's why we call it as an RDBMS. Okay. So when we talk about these databases, different vendors have the different products in the market, right? So Oracle is one database that you see in the market. and you see the SQL Server from Microsoft. This is another database. You have DB2, which is from IBM. That is also another database. You have a MySQL, which was from Sun Microsystem. Now it is by Oracle. And you have the databases like Greenplum. You might have heard about it. Okay. Netezza is another database, or you might have heard about Teradata. This is also one database. There is another database called as a Sybase, which is from SAP. So these are all the different RDBMS products which stores the data in the form of a table. So whenever you start storing any data, it stores in the form of a table, which is like a logical storage for them. Now, when you go and buy, let's say I'm buying an SQL Server database from Microsoft. So how am I going to store the data? I mean, to interact with the database, or to store your data in the database, or to read the data from your database, or to modify the data in the database, you needed a language to communicate with the database. That language is nothing but your SQL. So SQL is a universal language, which you can call it as a structured query language. So SQL stands for a structured query language, which helps you to add the data, modify the data, delete the data from tables, and it helps you to read the data from tables, all the kind of actions that you do on the database by using an SQL. So this is a language which is invented by IBM. So IBM is an founder. I mean, like you can say that it's invented by IBM in way back in 1970s. Now, do you see that SQL is different from the different databases? No. SQL is like a common language. So if I have to insert the data, I'll use the same insert statement in Oracle, same insert statement I'll use it in SQL Server, same insert statement you can also use it in Teradata. What I'm saying is SQL is not changes from one database to other database if you're following the ANSI syntaxes. ANSI is approved by all the databases, which is acceptable by all the databases. So let me give you the clear idea. So when you talk about SQL is basically a command line language. You can call it as it consists of different commands which we use for adding the data, deleting the data, and all. So to just to give you the overall idea, so SQL is actually being divided into, first one is about the data definition language, so which it is called as a DDL, and another one is called as a data manipulation language, so which you call it as a DML, right? So data retrieval language, so which it is called as a DRL, and you have another one called as a data control language, so which is to control the privileges and then all these things, which is called as a DCL. And you have another one called as a data, oh sorry, it's the transaction control language, which is for saving the data and all those things. It's a transaction control language, which is called as a TCL. So for each type you have a different type of a commands what you see. So DDL is more like a create, alter, and then the drop. So create is used for creating a tables, alter is used to modify the structure of the tables, and drop is used to remove the table from the database. So that's the three things. And for a manipulation, it's like insert for adding a data, update is for updating the information on the table, so delete is more like a deleting the data from a table, that is for an insert, update, delete. So when you talk about the data retrieval language, retrieval is nothing but the reading of the data. So how do you read the data from database? That is by using a select statement. So you'll use a select and then read the data. So data control language is more used for maintaining the privileges between that, but as a developer you don't use these things. Grant and revoke. Grant is used to assign the permissions on an object, and revoke is used to take back the permission from a user. That is called as a grant and revoke. So the transaction control language, whenever you want to save the data, we'll use a commit. Commit is like a control S, and whenever we want to undo the changes, we'll do a rollback. Rollback is like a control Z. So that's how it works. So these are all the different commands. So if you know these things, that is enough for you to survive as an Informatica developer. So I mean, it's like you know all these statements, how to use them, but select is a vast one. I mean, select, it has a lot of things to understand, but if you understand all these syntaxes and everything, that is enough for you as a I mean, so for a Informatica developer, right? So this is now you understand what is a database and what is SQL. So most of the people get confused since the Oracle term is more popular. People feel that Oracle and SQL both are same, which is not the case, right? So Oracle, these are all the databases, and SQL is a language which helps you to connect to the database, right? So let's go back and understand the term. What do you mean by the data warehouse? Do you have any idea what do you mean by data warehouse? What is that about? What is data warehouse? Okay, so okay, okay, you mean to say it stores the historical data, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I would say that data warehouse, I will call this as a database. Do you agree or don't agree? It's nothing but the database. Okay. So let's say data warehouse, what I would say, it's nothing but the database. So when I'm actually building a data warehouse for any customer, I can choose any database, whatever we have listed above, as a data warehouse. I can choose Oracle as my data warehouse. I can choose Teradata as my data warehouse. I can choose DB2 as my data warehouse. Anything can be my data warehouse. It's just that data warehouse is nothing but a which stores the historical data in the tables. That's the simple statement about it. So now the question is, from where you collect the data? How does the data flows into the data warehouse? So we are saying that the data is stored, but how the data is getting into the data warehouse? It's nothing but you actually collect the data from the transactional systems. That's why data warehouse is also called as it's a centralized database which is collected from the different transactional system. That is called as a data warehouse. So data collection of data from the different transactional systems is called as a data warehouse. Now we are storing the data. What is the use of data warehouse? Why should we store the historical data, or why should we do that? Why should we collect the transactional system data? Yes, to analyze.
For
So
analysis purpose.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, very good. So to data warehouse is just used to analyze the data. We'll understand this term more clear. Okay, for a time being, just understand it is just used to analyze the data, that is called as your data warehouse. Okay. Now we say that it is actually the data is collected from the transactional system. What do you mean by transactional system? Okay, what is real time system? Yes, very good. So transactional system is nothing but which is used for a day-to-day operations. That's called as a transaction. In a technical term, we call that as an OLTP. OLTP is nothing but an online transaction processing system. We call that as an OLTP. So what kind of applications are called as OLTP? Anything you can say? Anything you can pick up from your day-to-day life? Yes, very good. So ATM withdrawal is a ATM withdrawal is, we call it as a transactional system. So how you can call this as a transactional system? Why we call ATM as a transactional system? There will be a frequent transaction. What do you mean by transaction? Withdrawing the money is a transaction. Depositing the money into ATM is a transaction. So transaction is nothing but adding a data or modifying a data is called as a transaction. So a transaction can be anything. Okay. So how many of you will agree if I say e-commerce is a transactional system? So any e-commerce, something like, Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal, eBay, anything can be termed as a transaction. What do you mean by transaction in that? What is a transaction in an e-commerce industry, or what is a transaction for an Amazon guy? Yes, booking a product, it's an order, creating an order, canceling the order, modifying an order. That's called as a transaction. So that is called as a transaction. Okay. So, and I'll also call a travel applications, right, where we go and book the tickets and hotels, yatra.com, travel yari, or Mahindra holidays or whatever. So I go to the website and then book the ticket. So do you agree with me? Is this a transactional system? It's a transactional system because we go and book a ticket, or we go and book a hotel, or we go and, that's nothing but a transaction. So any internet banking system, as somebody has pointed about, so in internet banking system, what we do, we transfer the funds from our account to other account. All these things will be done. That is also called as a transactional system. Or any credit card transaction that you go and perform, which maintains, that is called as a transactional system. Okay, transactional system is something that where a frequent transactions happening, that is called as a transaction. As you said, a OLTP is nothing but which is used for a day-to-day operations. I mean, to run the business, they have actually given ATMs for a different customers, so we go and withdraw. It's used for a day-to-day operations. It cannot be utilized for analysis purpose. Okay, so now we'll go and understand the term, another term called as an OLAP. OLAP is nothing but the online analytical processing system. This is online analytical processing system, or this is also called as a warehouse, which we see. So let's say when I say OLAP or a data warehouse or a DSS, everything is the same. Okay. Now let's try to understand how does data flows into the data warehouse. Okay. So let's take a simple example. You heard about Citibank, right? So Citibank is a global player, and then let's consider about the Citibank India only. Forget about USA and all. So how many businesses they'll be having? Okay, let's say for maintaining all the banking. When I say banking, it's like transfer, internet banking system, and all those things. That is providing a saving accounts to the customer. That is one business line which they have, and they also have a credit cards. Citibank offers the credit cards and all those things. That is another application. And another one, basically about the loans. Citibank also offers the loans like a personal loan, home loan, or a mortgage loan, or a vehicle loan, or whatever. So these are all the different transactional system which the Citibank might be maintaining for a day-to-day operation. I mean, I'm not talking about the mutual funds, insurance, and everything. I'm not doing. So every day, if you are a Citibank customer, you go and withdraw the money from ATM, everything will be recorded within this banking system. Suppose you are a Citibank credit card customer, if you perform any transaction anywhere using a Visa gateway or a MasterCard gateway, everything will be recorded in this system. Okay. Now, when you talk about the loans, disbursal of loans, and then closing of the loans and everything, all the transactions will be recorded over here. Let's say they have a different transactional application. Assume that a banking system is developed in Oracle database, and assume that the loan system is actually developed in the DB2 database, and credit card applications and everything is being handled again in the any other SAP system or any other database. So it could be anything, let's say SQL Server or a Sybase which is being used. Now if you see a transactional data is being distributed across the different applications, right? So my data is present over here, my data is present here, my data is present here. Now if the Citibank has decided to analyze the data, so if they want to understand how they are doing, how their profits are increasing, how much revenue that they are generating in everything. Now Citibank has decided to build the data warehouse for all the Indian operations. Now we have to integrate the data, a transactional data from all these applications, whatever we see, into a centralized database that is nothing but your data warehouse. So let's say this is my data warehouse, and I'm choosing Teradata as my data warehouse. And I can choose any database as my data warehouse. So I'm choosing Teradata as my data warehouse. This is my warehouse. So the process of collecting the transactional data from all these applications and keeping that into a centralized database is called as an ETL process. So ETL stands for a extraction of data, T stands for a transformation, and L stands for a load. So what do you mean by extraction? It's collecting the data. So how do you collect the data from database? How do you read the data from database? It's nothing but the select statement. So your ETL tools will use a select statements to read the data. And when you say transformation, what do you mean by transformation? Modifying the data means changing the data from one form to the other form, or validating a data. So when you're reading the data, if you have a duplicates, eliminating the duplicate records, or removing the redundant data, removing the bad data, this is called as a transformation. Transformation is like, you can call a modifying the data or massaging of the data, whatever it is there, so that we can do that. So this is your transformation. So when you say load, so load is more like inserting of the data. So you add the data or update the data, that is called as a load. So ETL is a process of integrating or collecting the data from different transactional system into a centralized database, that is called as an ETL process. Okay. So this process is also called as a data integration process. I mean, you're collecting the data and integrating a data into one system, that is called as a data integration. Okay. So these ETL tools, it will not only extract the data from your transactional systems, and it will also extract the data from different flat files, right? Or it might even extract the data from different XML files, anything. It can read the data from any type of a transactional system and then put it into this. And similarly, your ETL tools can also read the data from any kind of an unstructured systems. You heard about Hadoop, right? So Hadoop or a Cassandra or a MongoDB, any big data technologies. So it can even read the data from Hadoop kind of a system and then put it into your data warehouse. So your ETL tools can be used to integrate the data from any type of a system into any type of a database. It can be integrated. So to do this ETL process, we have various ETL tools which are available in the market. So few among them is your Informatica PowerCenter, right? And next one is you have another one called as IBM InfoSphere Data Stage. This is from IBM. And you have another tool from Oracle called as Oracle Data Integrator. So this is another ETL tool or an ELT tool you can call. And you also have another tool like Ab Initio. This is from Ab Initio Corporation. That is also an ETL tool. And you have SAP Bots, Business Objects Data Services. That is also an ETL tool. And you also have tools like SnapLogic ETL tool. SnapLogic ETL, there is an ETL called as a SnapLogic ETL. That is also one. And you also have a pervasive data integrator. This is another ETL tool. From Microsoft, you have another one called as SSIS, SQL Server Integration Service. That is also an ETL tool. And whatnot. I mean, there are open source tools like Talent Data Integrator. That is also one. And there is another one called as a Pentaho. This is also an open source tool. So these are all the various ETL tools. I mean, you have even more than 50 to 100 ETL tools which will be available in the market. So all these ETL tools will help you to integrate the data from any kind of a transactional system or any kind of a file system into your data warehouse. So this is your different ETL tools which we have. So when we talk about now we have loaded the data into a data warehouse. Now what is the use of your data warehouse? So that is nothing but your analyzing purpose. So what do you mean by analysis? Analysis is nothing but reading the data from your data warehouse and representing the data in the form of a reports. That's called as a BI. Okay. So BI stands for business intelligence. All your BI tools, what it does, it will read the data and represent the data in the form of a tabular format. It can show in the tabular format, or it can show the data in the form of a bar graph, which is bar graph, or a pie chart. It can also be show the data in the form of a pie chart or anything, I mean, which is easy to understand. So it will represent the data to the business user wherein they can easily understand by looking at the data what is there. So that is called as analysis purpose. Analysis means it's like finding out the profits for a particular region, or finding out the growth of the business from last year to this year, last quarter to this quarter, I mean, comparing the revenues, comparing the profits and everything that we do it. So this is about your BI tools. So all your BI tools, what it does, it helps the business users to analyze the data and understand their business in the form of reports. So again, when you talk about the BI tools are again plenty. For analyzing the data, you have plenty of tools which are available. So you have Oracle BI, Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition, and you also have the tools like Tableau, right? Tableau, and you have another one that is called as a ClickView, right? So maybe Cognos is another ETL tool, sorry, another BI tool. So likewise, you have SSRS, business objects. So likewise, you have so many other BI tools. Again, you might see more than 50 to 100 BI tools in the market. So these are all the BI tools which helps you to analyze. So when you go to any data warehousing projects, so data warehousing projects, you'll see both the things. So it's like you'll have a ETL plus you'll also have a BI. So ETL plus BI together is called as a DWBI, which is called as a data warehousing and business intelligence. So these kind of a projects. So when you talk about ETL tools, 80% of the ETL tools are used in the data warehouse projects. So that's why we need to know what is a data warehouse and how to design the data. Other 20% are used in the data integration project. What do you mean by data integration project? It's like you're just integrating the data from a one database to other database. Let's say now you have a scenario. How many of you heard about Siebel CRM? Siebel CRM applications. Okay. Let's say there is a Siebel CRM is a one CRM application. I mean, I'm just telling you. Let's say this is your Siebel application, and now the client has decided to move the data from Siebel to Salesforce.com. You heard about Salesforce.com, right? So if they want to move the data from Siebel CRM to Salesforce.com, Salesforce.com is not a warehouse here. It's just another transactional application. And this is one transactional application, and this is another transactional application. Client has decided to move the data from CRM application, Siebel legacy system to Salesforce.com, which is a cloud oriented application. So now here also I can use an ETL tool. I can read the data from Siebel and then load the data into Salesforce.com. This type of a project is called as a data migration or a data integration project. So here I can just use Informatica to migrate the data from existing Siebel system to the Salesforce.com. That is an integration project. Or let's say your Salesforce is actually receiving the data in the form of an XML files every day from the third party applications, or they are receiving the data in the form of a flat files. Now they're using Informatica here to load the data from all these flat files into a Salesforce.com. You have been hired as an Informatica developer to do this job. This is one of the data integration project. Here there is no concept of data warehouse. I don't have a data warehouse. What is my end product? I'm loading the data into Salesforce.com. There is no data warehouse. You don't see anything as database here. You're directly loading. So this type of a project is called as a data integration project. So when you see Informatica developer, you might be hired as an Informatica developer for this kind of a project, wherein you'll integrate the data into one of the application, transactional application, or you might work in a data warehouse project as well. So since the predominantly the ETL tools are much used in a 80% it is there in the data warehouse. So we are going to even focus on what is a data warehouse and what is a data modeling and all those stuff. That is why we need it. So this is a simple introduction about your ETL tools and what is a BI. So basically, what do you achieve by analyzing the data? Why should we analyze the data? Why should we analyze? Okay. To understand the trend. Okay. By understanding the trend, what do you do? Yes. So let's say if I know that in my business I'm selling some 10 products. Out of 10 products, 3 products are not doing good. Nobody, no takers for that, no customers for that. So what do? You'll just replace them or you'll come up with a better version, right? So that that is called as a decision making. So basically, by analyzing the data, by understanding the data, you actually take a decision of discontinuing that product sales and then coming up with a better idea. So that's called as a decision making. So by analyzing the data, your business user will make a decision of improving their business. So your data warehouse will actually help you to improve your business in all the areas, like in terms of revenues, in terms of profits, in terms of the service that you're providing to the customer, in terms of everything. So data warehouse is not only for a particular domain, it is for every domain. It is for insurance, it is for banking, it is for finance, it is for telecom, it is for customer relationship management. Anybody, they need a data warehouse to survive. Okay, so basically, why everybody is running after building the data warehouses for analyzing the data? Because any business is not a monopoly business. You need to take decisions very quick, and you need, if you have to stay ahead of your competitors, you need to keep analyzing your data on a day-to-day basis and understand where we are lagging, take a decisions very quickly, and then go forward. So that is why the BI plays a very important role. So as per the Gartner report in 2015, software revenues in all, like whatever the revenue that is being generated from the software industry, 51% will come from only from the BI. So that's the power of BI. So any business need a BI. So like if they are not analyzing their business, if they are not understanding their business, how they are doing, they'll not be able to survive it. That's why the BI plays a very important role. It is not for a specific domain, it's for every domain. So whatever it is, it's for every domain that we use it. So this is the use of a data warehouse. Now the question is, see, we're actually collecting the data from all these transactional system into the a data warehouse, right? So why do we need to do that? Why can't I analyze the data here by using a BI tool? Why should I integrate the data into again a centralized database? I have to invest a lot of money, everything. Why can't I use the same BI tool here, point to this banking system and generate a report here? Why should I do this? Okay. Okay. So mhm. Okay. Yeah, it's you're correct. So all of you are correct. So basically, when you talk about an OLTP system, first and foremost thing is that you'll not have a historical data in the OLTP system. There is no history of information. Suppose, let's say, if I want to generate a report, what was my last year revenue versus what is my current year revenue? You might be having current year revenue, but not the last year data. So there is no historical data which gets saved. Any example for not storing the historical data? You go to your ATM application, take the mini statement, how many, or you take will you be able to take the complete statement? It hardly 5 or 6 transactions which are there. So if I have to analyze, I can see only 6 transactions what is done by the customer. Or if I want to know like what is the total number of transactions done by this customer, so what should I do? So I'll not be able to do that. That is one. So that there is no historical data, and all the time your data will be changing in the OLTP application. It is not static, it's volatile. I mean, every time there will be a change in the database. That is also one. Another thing is that, suppose, let's say, if I have to find out the global revenue that have been generated or total revenue that I've generated from all these businesses, what should happen? First, I should generate one report from that application, another report from this application, another report from this application, and combine all the data. That will give me the total profit, right? So it is like a time consuming process, right? So if a CEO has to do this work, maybe half a day he'll spend only for analyzing this, I mean understanding this, or he should take a help from a technical guy. Okay, you send me the results, I'll analyze. Okay, based on this I'll take a decision. It's very a time consuming process. But if you just integrate the entire data into a data warehouse, with one click he can understand what is the total revenue, whatever it is there. So that is when you want to do that. If your data is distributed across the multiple application, it is like a time consuming process, because the data is distributed across the multiple application, because data is distributed, right? So another thing is that all the time your OLTP systems are normalized in nature. What do you mean by normalization? Anybody heard about it? Normalized in nature. So normalization is nothing but the organizing the data in the form of a tables. So it is always normalized up to third normal form. What do you mean? I mean, why it is disadvantage when you say it is normalized data? See, basically the normalization, let me give you the definition of normalization. So the normalization is nothing but the process of organizing the data in tables, that is called as a normalization. Okay, so you're going to distribute the data. So normalization carries the different normal forms: 1NF, 2NF, second normal form, and the third normal form. And you also have these are all the rules that you apply. For each and every normal form will carry one rule and you'll apply. 3.5 NF, which is also called as a Boy Scout normal form, and 4 NF, like that we can apply the different rules to normalize the data. What is the goal of normalization? Is to reduce the redundant data or remove the redundant data across the tables. That is called as a normalization. See, the disadvantage why it is normalization is disadvantage for analysis is because the more you normalize the data, more number of tables will be present in your database. Suppose if I less normalize my data, less number of tables will be present. What is the disadvantage of having more tables? Yes, very good. So basically, when you say that it is normalized in nature, more number of tables will be present. Suppose if I want to read the data from my BI tool, I might have to write a query with more number of joins, right? More joins means it's a complex query. It's always, again, if I write every time, if I go and write a complex query, obviously it will impact the performance of my transactions as well, right? Suppose I'm running a report at the same time my business, I mean customer is also booking a transaction or performing a transaction. Obviously performance of the system will get affected. So that is another reason that why we don't use an OLTP system. So OLTP systems are not used for analysis purpose. It is used only for a day-to-day operations. That's why we are going for a separate centralized database which can be used only for analyzing the data. So do you think that your data warehouse will overcome all these disadvantages? Whatever the disadvantages the OLTP has, does it overcome all these disadvantages? Answer is yes. So we are going to design a data warehouse in such a way to which will overcome all these. So when you say no history, we'll make sure that the history is captured in the warehouse system. And when you talk about a time consuming process, that will not happen because we are integrating the data into one centralized place. And another one is that when you talk about a data warehouse is normalized up to second normal form. So when you say second normal form, less number of tables, less number of tables will equal to less number of joins, and simple queries can be written to analyze the data. Less number of tables, less number of joins, and simple queries we can write for analyzing the data. So that's the advantage of the data warehouse. That's why we are building a data warehouse for analyzing purpose. So that's why, so the answer for why we can't use an OLTP for a transactional system, because OLTP will carry all these disadvantages which will overcome by your data warehouse. So that is about another reason why we don't use a transactional system. So this is a overall idea about what is an ETL, what is BI, what is data warehouse, and all those things, right? So any questions so far? You're good, right? Okay. Any questions from Swati, Priya? You guys have any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So yes, Priya, you have a question? Okay, I'm not sure your microphone is working. Okay, that's all right. So now what I'll do is I'll just try to show you what we are going to cover as part of this training. Okay, so this is an overall idea. Now you understand what is an ETL, why, where Informatica is used, right? So in ETL, Informatica is one of the ETL tool. So basically you'll use Informatica here for integrating the data from all these transactional systems into the warehouse, and it can be used this kind of a projects, Informatica PowerCenter. So now I'll show you what kind of, I think you might have received the same syllabus from the team as well, and but I'll just show you what we are going to cover in detail. So first, a few we are going to understand now in the demo class itself. We understand all this, right? What is a data warehouse? What is a BI, OLTP, and OLAP system? And we'll continue further on the architecture of the data warehouse and all those things, and the data modeling. We are going to understand how to design the tables in the data warehouse, and we'll understand about the Informatica Power Center architecture. What are the different components in Informatica Power Center? What are the different kind of Informatica Power Center tools that are available in the Power Center client tools? We are also going to understand about some admin activities like how to set up the service, how to set up the integration service kind of stuff. Then we'll talk about other Informatica products. See, Informatica company supplies the different Informatica products. It doesn't have only Power Center. It has a tools like data quality. It has a tools like MDM, master data management. It has a tools like Informatica Power Center Big Data Edition, which can integrate the data. It has a lot of other products. So we'll try to understand some of them, like what is the use of it. Most of the people, Informatica Power Center is so popular that most of the people don't know that Informatica has other products. It has popular in such a way. So everybody feels that whenever we say Informatica Power Center is only the product, but they have a lot of other products as well, which are in this space, like for a data warehouse and then the quality purpose. Okay, so we'll understand some of those products, like where it is available and why it is used. Because when you go in as maybe as a 3-year old or a 4-year old, people might ask you like what other products you know about Informatica and what is the use. So that at a high level we'll understand. Then we'll talk about the complete ETL project life cycle. Suppose, let's say, when you go and join as an ETL developer, how does an ETL project starts? What is your roles and responsibilities that you have to perform? What kind of documents that you have to prepare? So all these kind of things we'll discuss. And next thing is about, as part of this process, we are going to integrate the complete uh, we are going to implement a complete project. Individually, you're going to implement a project by the end of the training. So we are going to, let me just show you the architecture of the project, like what we are going to implement. So I think we'll be having here, like, let's say the case study data flow. This is the project that we are going to implement. Okay, so we have a retail transactional application which is present. This is like a, you can think of this as an e-commerce application. Okay, so wherein all the orders of the invoice of the customers will be recorded over here in this application. This is an Oracle database, and you'll also receive the data in the form of flat files and XML files. So using Informatica, first in the phase 1 of this project, we'll integrate the data into a staging area, and wherein we'll have all the temporary tables. We'll understand what is a staging area. I'll let you know. Okay. Then from the staging area, we'll load it into a sales data warehouse, and this sales data warehouse is used by the Tableau for analyzing the data. What kind of analysis that they do? They will understand the revenue with respect to the product. They will understand the revenue, profit, loss with respect to the region. They will understand the growth of revenue on a yearly basis. They want to see top 10 selling products, best sales managers in my business. So all these kind of analysis which they do. So this retail project we are going to implement as part of the training. So end to end. So by the implementation of the project, will also give you the full-fledged understanding of complete futures in Informatica. So it's like we are going to touch each and every future in Informatica, like how we are going to use and everything. So when you say Informatica, most of the people will start comparing how many transformations you are teaching, other institutes or this transformation they are teaching and all. So we are going to touch base, even though you don't see any transformation name here, we are going to cover almost 20 to 22 transformation, which we are going to cover as part of the training. So transformation is nothing but, we talked about that, right? Transformation means modifying the data. So in Informatica, we have a different transformation object which performs for each action. What do you mean by aggregation? Grouping of the data is called as an aggregation. So for performing an aggregation, we have one transformation. Suppose if you want to read the data from two tables, you'll have one transformation. Suppose if you want to filter the data, we'll have one transformation. So likewise, Informatica carries the different transformations. So to give you the rough idea what transformations we are going to cover, so we'll cover the expression like filter transformation, and there is something called as a router, and you're going to understand the joiner. Sorter is like, works like a order by clause, and aggregator works like a group by clause. And we are also going to understand the update strategy transformation, lookup, um, right? So lookup, and then we are also going to understand about the sequence generator, and all these again, we'll talk about the normalizer transformation, and next one is about the transaction control, and we'll talk about the stored procedure, and you'll talk about the maplet input transformation and maplet output transformation. So maplet output, and we are also going to understand about the XML source qualifier, and you'll talk about the actual source qualifier transformation, what it is there, and what else, transaction control, we talked about it. And there are different ways of defining the lookups. I mean, in the lookup itself, you can define two types of things. One is like a connected lookup, another is an unconnected lookup. This also we are going to understand. So close to 20 to 22 transformations. I don't know if I have missed anything else here. Yeah, a rank and the union transformation, that also we are going to understand. So these are all the, and along with this, we will also provide you the hands-on to do the SQL transformation and how to do the Java transformation. All these things as well, along with this, we are going to understand. So overall, we are going to spend around 35 to 40 hands-on labs to do that. And then we'll understand about how to schedule the workflows, how to do the Unix shell scripting, how to call the Unix from that. And for understanding the stored procedure transformation, you need a basic PLSQL. We are going to understand the basic PLSQL and call that from the this one. And advanced topics also, we are going to understand like how do you tune the Informatica mappings. If Informatica jobs are taking more amount of time, what are the steps that you have to take to tune it? And partition, this is another advanced thing, and then different other migration aspects and everything will be discussed. So as I said, like skill oriented things, so these things will be covered on a high level. So Informatica Power Center 961. So Informatica Power Center wise, you don't need to worry whether you're going to cover advanced topics or not. We'll cover all the basic as well as advanced topics. So overall, more than 35 labs you're going to implement. 35 to for each and everything. I mean, we are going to give you the access to the hands-on lab guide. We have a separate hands-on lab guide. We are going to provide a hands-on lab guide for you, right? And then we are also going to provide you the interview preparation guide. We'll have access to this interview preparation guide as well, right? And in terms of placement assistance, I mean, people will keep asking us like what kind of assistance that you give, whether you can get a job for me or not. So this basically the placement assistance, what we do is we'll actually help you to resume preparation, and we will help you with a project explanation if you want, like how you want to explain your project, whatever you keep, all those things. And if you want any mock interviews to be handled, let's say before you go for a final interview, let's say you want us to help you to mock interviews and all, in case if you're looking for a change, these are all like an additional advantage that you get, each in terms of a placement assistance. So this is what is a overall thing. And your timings for the class is going to be same. It will be like, let's say, every weekend day we'll have for 2.5 hours. So 2.5 to 3 hours, it's depending upon first the theoretical classes, so we'll spend less time. Once we go to the practicals, then we'll spend more time because you have to practice as well. So you can bring your laptops and you can also practice. And installation wise, we'll provide you the complete Informatica installations on your laptop through the VM. When we say the Informatica installation, this Informatica installation will include the Oracle database, and you'll have a SQL developer for querying this one. And in this itself, you'll have an Informatica server and Informatica client, both will be installed, right? Client and everything. And along with this, we will also give you the Unix server access, Informatica Unix server access, basically to help you to understand complete for executing all the Unix shell scripts, for executing all the to understand the real-time approach. We are going to provide you the Unix server access through the VPN. So it's basically why this is again a special thing is when we go to the real time, your Informatica server will not be installed in your system. You'll just have a client and you'll be interacting with the server. So this approach will help you to understand the real time. I mean, like how does generally works in the real time. So server and the client approach. So this Informatica Unix server will be there in our environment. I mean, it will be there in your Bangalore location. So this is your Informatica server what we have. And what we do is we will set up the Informatica client in your local machine. This is another setup. Okay, you'll get the Windows based setup one. Another is that you'll have a Informatica client over here, Informatica client. So this we will just try and do this way. I mean, from this you're going to access our server which is there, and this server will be running 24/7. Whenever you want to practice, you can practice with respect to that. So this is about the complete installation and the server access and all. So this is the overall idea about the course, how we are going to proceed further. So in case if most of you are the very new to this, so we can spend even some time here in understanding the sequels as well. Just a kind of a brush up. Maybe for 2 hours or 3 hours we can spend along with the videos whatever we are providing. So we'll spend 2 or 3 hours and I'll cover the important topics which will be helpful for you to understand more complex things in the SQL side. Okay, so these things as well will do it. So this is a overall process and what we are going to do. So since it is a weekend class, it will go for 6 weeks from now. If you're starting, it will go for 6 weeks. If you are spending 3 hours in a week every weekend day, so 3 to 6 I mean 3 plus 3 total 6 hours will spend. That's how we can plan the course and then continue further, right? Okay, so if you have any other questions, probably I can answer them related